wrapped up our lunch session by talking about in-unit trends. And so today we're going to go to the rest of the building, particularly focusing on shared space trends. And you're going to see some familiar faces here at the table as I shift over. But we do have one new face. So we'll do a quick kind of around the room again. So Brad, can you give us just a brief introduction, who you are and who you're with?
Sure, not new, so it's been a pleasure to be in a couple of sessions here this week. So Brad Russell, Vice President of Research at Interpret Market Research. Recently, we've been partnering with AE Ventures and doing some B2B research in single family and multifamily as well. So happy to share some of our data with you today.
Fantastic. Next up, Chelsea.
Well, I feel like we're all old friends, right? You already laughed at my jokes yesterday, hopefully. So I'm Chelsea Newland with Lowe's Pro Supply, and I was here yesterday. It was a pleasure and thrilled to be here again today.
And we're going to skip Carol, come to her last. So Justin.
Justin Foster, Director of Community Technology Services. I promise this is the last time you have to hear from me during this conference.
I'm actually looking for a slot for lunch.
Oh, yeah. There's an opening for the lunch.
Terrific. And Carol, can you please introduce yourself? I know many people got to meet you last night at the tour, but if you didn't get a chance, tell everyone who you are, what you do, and then I'm going to ask you to go into a little more detail about Akara and specifically Connect.
Sure. Hey, everybody. Good to see everybody. A shout out to Group 11. We have an awesome group. Woohoo! So my name's Carol Van Hook Weaver. I'm with Akara Partners. I'm the Director of Leasing and Marketing for Connect and also the company. So I travel all over the United States. I've been on the ground since we really launched our management company, Akara Partners. And I have been on the ground building Connect ever since. So opening 2 skyrises and boomtowns during a pandemic, I've learned lots of lessons. My background is luxury student housing construction as well, and hotels. So Connect brings all my passions under one roof.
So this is a picture from last night at the event, if you weren't there, and we can kind of get some of the unique view of their shared spaces. This is from their Nashville location. This was last night up on the roof. What I want to do is have you tell us a little bit about Connect and how it came to be.
Yeah, I mean, I really think we have to go kind of back to the early 2000s, and I'm not going to go through every single timeline, but how Connect came to be is, and many of you are familiar with this purpose-built product type, going back to student housing developments. So before that, in the 90s, when people were in college, they lived next to Bill and Bob Sue in some apartment complex with no programming, nobody liked students, there was no furniture, no, social interactivity. So, with the purpose-built product that came along in the late 90s, early 2000s for student housing, purpose-built, now people are living around their cohorts. You're in a collegiate environment. There's programming for young adults. You have a pool, a washer and dryer. You come to have furniture. And so our owner, CEO, Rajan Shastri, was with CA Ventures. I kept saying AE Ventures yesterday, CA Ventures, and he was kind of the forefront of that purpose-built, which we now come to know as student housing. So 2008, everything hits. He gets out of that and he's like, okay, what's next? And so now that this whole kind of cohort has been living in this purpose-built product type, this is now they're going to go to the city. Now you have your job, now you want to be in the city, but you're used to having a washer and dryer, a pool, a dog park, and living around people that are doing kind of the same stuff you're doing. So really this was designed in 2009, 2010, where he's like, okay, well, we want to make, let's sacrifice and do smaller spaces for bigger amenities. Okay, now people are going to want somewhere to work. They want to be in the best part of the city. Oh, and they only want to pay a certain amount of money. So this whole product type, which I love, and it's so cool, and I get really passionate about it, is that this product is built for someone that can make $75,000 to $100,000 a year and live in the heart of Music Row or right here downtown in Phoenix. You don't have to make $300,000 to have a really cool lifestyle in the heart of the city. So now we have, the co-working space, which we're talking about the shared space today, the co-living part of it, which comes back to my kind of student housing, but flight attendants, pilots, traveling nurses, you have your own bed and bathroom, it's furnished, and it's an awesome price point. So that's kind of how the product came to be, and we're building these all over the United States, so it's a nationwide membership-based lifestyle.
So we'll come back to some of those things in our discussion today. As we move forward, we're going to start this similar to how we started things yesterday. is going to the survey that Brad and his team put together. So I'm going to give you control and walk us through some of the trends when it comes to multifamily shared space.
Sure. So if you weren't with us yesterday, just a quick reminder, this survey was conducted among 166 multifamily builders, developers, and some managers. So one of the tips I said yesterday is when you look at this data, think of it more through the lens of new builds probably, and not all retrofits and all kinds of properties. So we're trying to understand kind of the current level of adoption or incorporation of a variety of shared amenities, both those that are there more for operational efficiencies as well as those that are more, tenant facing. So, it's not surprising that we see kind of at the top of this chart here, things like, connectivity infrastructure, and now tech-enabled waste and recycling programs, maintenance management systems, and then the utilities, right? Energy and water metering. So we've already heard, from some of our presenters about how much operational savings is just such a driver in investment in these kind of amenities. But then as we move down the list, certainly perimeter and shared space surveillance, shared space AV and controls. And then the second tier, certainly property management software integration increasingly has become just an integral part of making all of this work. Properties are learning about the value of websites and apps where they can handle everything from maintenance requests or communicate with all the tenants and plan social activities. We know that parcel delivery solutions have been a huge pain point, and I'm sure Carol will talk about that as well, and the various strategies that properties are taking towards that. Work from home, work from apartment, suddenly we need these common spaces even more now. And EV charging and things like even iCafes and food service. And I know Carol also has some ideas about that. So that's interesting. Now, when we compare it to future share, and that is in the next couple of years, what are these respondents kind of most interested in? We see kind of some of the same things still at the top of the space, but then at the bottom tier, we see that there's going to be a tremendous surge, we think, in more property management software, more features in that software, deeper integrations with all of the other building systems, websites and apps that are now oftentimes provided by third-party services, but then there's so many third-party services now. I think the challenge is how do you integrate them all into a unified experience? And so again, your tenant's not plagued with having like 3 different apps or something like that. EV charging, certainly one of the areas that we'll see the most increase in the next couple of years as electric vehicles become more and more just standardized. So yeah, so that's a quick look at where the amenities are today and where we think they're gonna go in the next couple of years.
So we're going to take some of these ones that have experienced the highest growth, and we'll also throw in a few others that we wanted to share as we had some discussions beforehand. So we talked about this yesterday in terms of in-unit trends. I wanted to at least briefly open this up to the panel. Why is this important when it comes to shared spaces as well, if it's not already obvious? Anything any of you'd like to add to how important this is when it comes to shared spaces?
Sure, I can start if you want.
Okay.
So I think they hit on it a little bit yesterday. I think the building-wide connectivity is really the base or the platform for all building systems to live on. That's IoT. I know a lot of generators, boilers, a lot of actual just building systems now need to be connected. A lot of that is because the vendors have gotten smart and they're like, why do we keep rolling trucks out when we can just monitor everything remotely? And so now you have all of these different devices in different areas of your building, parking garage, up on the roof, and how do we connect those to a network? And I think the easiest kind of solution from an owner-operator perspective is just have that building-wide network. And then
Those were places that usually were on the very periphery that weren't getting good coverage, even if you did have some type of Wi-Fi in the building.
That's correct, and you got to hope and pray that it's in one of the IDFs that the providers are in. If not, you're probably trying to do some brain surgery to get those devices connected. And so I think it's really just the base platform that you can kind of build on from a building system network and a resident amenity as well.
Now, Carol, with your facility, you don't have just residents. You've also got people that are signed up for a subscription to the co-working service that's on the mezzanine level, and you could have walk-ins who want to have access as well. So how are you dealing with that from a technology perspective?
And that was a big kind of, pain point when, okay, we run apartments, so we know what software we want to use, the Entradas and the CRM, so we got that covered. And then when we were launching the membership side, which is a really big part of our revenue stream, it was really important to find the right software. So the technology that we have going on behind the scenes to monitor our memberships, because you don't have to live at Connect to be a member. We have people that are just like co-working members, and so you can have let's call it a floating co-working desk. So you can just have access, and that gets you access to the gym, all the events, and all the amenities nationwide. So you can just have a floating membership in Denver, and then you can travel to Nashville, upcoming Denver, Cleveland, Minneapolis, and DC. So the technology we're using, which we'll go into more on some slides, is Nexodus. And after doing so many demos with some of the multifamily that's dabbling in co-working software, they're getting there. But what I found with the analytics and the reporting, where you can add on a key, like a music studio for the day or a day pass. There's so many great reports that we can pull instantly for our revenue streams and reporting, as well as Wi-Fi connectivity. So using this technology behind the scenes in Nexodus for just our members, that's how we see who's on the Wi-Fi. If you don't pay your bill or something declines on your payment, we can quickly turn your Wi-Fi off. That gets people in the door pretty quick to pay their bill. And then we can see who's checked in, who's not, and then we can see, okay, all the residents that live at the building, how many times they're checking into co-working, and then also outside members just driving through that need a conference room for the day.
That would be fascinating to see your non-payment numbers compared to other places. Turn off that internet and someone's going to pay their bill.
Yeah, and we're finding that the on-site managers and the on-site teams, they have their own kind of swipe in that's connected to our Stripe. So it's a great, way to get payments quickly versus just having your resident profile account where you have to do a GL and a rent charge code. This is they put in their information, all electronic, right from their mobile app, and they're on their way. So it's a really easy access point to not be a resident there. And they have to accept terms and agreements that way.
Makes sense. Okay, so definitely some relevance there.